Everybody, please take your seats. We're close to 2 o'clock, so find a seat, please. Feel free to bring a beverage to your chair. We have wine, water, and soda, and so forth.
Get off the phone. Put it on airplane. It is setting. Airplane. Yeah. All right. Just put it on. That's good. Yeah. Good. Drinking already?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'd like to welcome you to the Cathedral of Hines. It's a Veterans Memorial. Been here for 78 years. It's our 78th year. My name is Don Upton. I'm chairman of the board currently. My claim to fame is Dora and I got married here. Many of us have gotten married here. We do over 60 or 70 weddings every year, many funerals. And we're getting into more and more events because we have this lovely hall. We raised $800,000 about 5 years ago to tear this all apart and redo the whole place. It's all, the walls have come down, there's all new insulation, all the windows, all the floor. There used to be an old wall over here, that's gone, now we can see the beautiful beams, all new lighting. And we're open 12 months a year for the first time. And so it's always a struggle trying to beat the salaries on that first year and get enough events to pay for it. This is our first major event, so I'm pleased you're all here. I would like to introduce Kelly Perot. Kelly is a Marine, retired, and she and her husband Mike moved here. Mike is an 18-year retired, an active duty Marine. He had duty today at Fort Devon, so he couldn't make it, but Kelly and Mike moved here, just down the road a mile or two. And the first thing they did was reach out to us a couple of months ago, and they said, we'd like to volunteer, we'd like to get involved. Well, as most of you know, this is a wonderful Veterans Memorial, and we reach out to veterans all the time. And Kelly is here, has been helping this morning. Kelly, she's right back here. Thank you for coming. Kelly has 2 little children, and she and her husband Mike, so hopefully they'll be getting more involved. I asked Mike if he would show up today in his dress Marine uniform, but he had to work, so I thought that would have been a press up if we could have seen him. next Saturday, April 1st, we have, in the morning from 9 to 12, we have cleanup. So if somebody wants to come and help us rake, getting ready for Easter Sunday morning sunrise service at 6 a.m. on Sunday the 9th. We always have an annual cleanup just before the Easter service. At 1 o'clock on the 1st, we have a talk by a gentleman who rehabilitates bears. Most of you probably live in this area have heard of him, been around a long time. He's rehabilitated hundreds of bears. He goes into the dens in the winter and checks on them. He becomes like a parent to these young cubs that grow up. And so he's going to show slides and talk, and it's an amazing story. I've seen him before. I would like also to thank Ramona Branch, who was over here and taking the money. Ramona is a incorporator, and her husband Jerry Branch is a trustee. Jerry's at the door greeting people. Jerry's a veteran from Vietnam. Ramona and Jerry are part of a program committee planning out all the programs, and they've been a great help to us. The program coordinator is Kristen Hayes. Kristen, stand up, Kristen. And Kristen's on our staff, and she's really the person who books all the weddings and all the events here all year round. And her fiance is a new employee here, Dean. Dean couldn't come in today, but he's our maintenance supervisor, and we're very pleased to have Dean and Kristen on our staff. I also would like to thank all the folks who have brought a lot of the food. We're going to have cheese and crackers, a lot of nice hors d'oeuvres afterwards. And particularly to Kim Mooney, who is the president of Franklin Pierce University. I said university. Most of us still call it a college, but Kim is here with her husband, Greg Walsh. Greg is a trustee, and Kim and Greg donated the wine. I offered to donate the wine, but he said I probably would be only buying cheap wine, and so he wanted to make sure he got good wine. So I hope you'll all enjoy the wine afterwards and enjoy it. I'm kind of delaying because our artist picked up this wooden chair and got a splinter in his finger and ripped his nail off, which is not too good to be a classical guitarist and having a finger injury. So I can hear him tuning up out back, and hopefully he will recover, but he had to file his nail down. So he probably doesn't want me to tell you that, but I want you to know that in case you hear a squeak or something that is not part of it. Also, a very special thank you to my wife Dory's cousins who are here. Two couples from Newmarket, New Hampshire. They drove all the way down this morning from Newmarket, so we're pleased that Jan and Vic and Patty and Steve are with us today. And they were here a few years ago when we had some grandsons talking about their grandfathers and fathers and relatives who served in the First World War, the Second World War, and a lot of them talked about it. We have about 2 hours of tape, which they taped right here when the kids were talking about it. So it's a wonderful thing to have, and these were the cousins who did that program for us. Also, our son Dana is headed here. Dana is an ER doc at Mass General. He was supposed to work this morning. He got somebody that worked half his shift. He left an hour or so ago. He left Mass General, and so he should be coming in, and we'll welcome Dana when he shows up. I would like to now introduce a long-term trustee. He's currently the chair of the program committee, and he will be the one who will introduce our artist today and give you the connection. And Bill Sloane is a trustee, and Bill is the grandson of the Sloanes here, the founders of the Cathedral. And the other one who's here is a grandson, and none other than Jed Brummer, and most everybody knows Jed. Thank you for coming, Jed and Linda. So, Bill Sloane is where?
special thanks to Dawn and Dory for doing all they do for the cathedral. We scratched beneath the surface and saw a lot of the things that happen at the cathedral for the good. Oftentimes it's Dawn and Dory that are underneath it all. So again, many thanks to you. We were worried about your injury, but we trust everything is okay.
Well, I can fake it.
Great. Well, welcome to everybody, and welcome to Dave McLellan, and who's going to be offering us and delighting us and educating us with the program Colorful 20th Century Guitar. And this is hopefully the first in a series of programs we will offer here this year and in the succeeding years. I think we're trying to invest a lot more energy into our programming here to bring special events to the cathedral, interspersed through the season. And we welcome any of your ideas for things that we could host here. One of the things that we are thinking about, because we are a veterans-based organization, if you will, a veteran experience, and our thankfulness for people who serve, and especially remembering those who lost their lives, is significant. And we want that to be certainly a part of what we do here. So we're thinking about organizing a homecoming for veterans event this year. And depending on how that's structured, we hope to do that subsequent years. And then we look for things that might be appropriate during the year. One of the things, this is whether you may not realize it, but this year is the 160th anniversary of Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. On November 19th, 1863, he gave the address. And we're hoping that on that day, it's going to be a Sunday, that we'll have an event and a Lincoln impersonator perhaps to give the Gettysburg Address and have it as a nice educational experience. But anyway, your ideas are very welcome for things that we can do here, and we hope to build an active, vibrant series of programs as time goes on. But to introduce today a little bit, I just want to talk a little bit about connections. We know Sandy Sloane was a B-17 pilot, shot down over Germany, lost his life. Prior to going to war, he married Margaret Allen. Margaret Allen grew up in Newton, I believe.
Yes.
Newton. And as did actually Sandy and his parents and my father and other siblings. And they moved up here in '37 from Newton, but maintaining some connections. I don't know if they actually knew each other in Newton. Did they, Sandy and your mom?
I don't think so.
I don't
remember.
That part of the story we don't really know. But anyway, they met here, they were married. Sandy went off to war and did not come back. Fortunately, Dave Jr.'s father happened to come up here at the, surprisingly, not insistence, but wishes of the track coach, of the Newton High School track coach, wanted Dave to come up and actually meet Margaret Allen. And they met here and became interested in each other to the point where a romance blossomed and they were married. And so we're delighted to welcome Dave McLellan Jr. here, and that's part of the story. I always like the part about the track coach, because that element that the coach from Newton came up to introduce him was a significant part of that. And another part of that story is that my dad and Dave McLellan Sr. were both at the same time on the Newton track team, and they were on the 4-man relay. So sometimes interesting how pathways cross when you're talking about life experience. And so that's a little tidbit. But anyway, so that's kind of the story. But one of the, if in the program that I have, I'm not sure if this is printed the same way. I have this preliminary draft, but there's a paragraph here that starts, having been raised by Margaret Allen Sloane McLellan, a pathological philanthropist. I always thought, now why pathological philanthropist? That doesn't seem like two words that would naturally go together. But she was such a giving person, and her contributions, along with your dad, were of inestimable value to the cathedral. I mean, in terms of time, energy, resources. They were here, they did a lot for the cathedral. And as the saying goes, the fruit does not fall very far from the tree. So here's Dave. So add into the family legacy here. And it says here in the program, in 1998, he founded and continues to perform in concert in your living room, a service dedicated to helping nonprofits raise funds. So I give you Dave McLellan.
Thank you very much, Bill. Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here. I would like to thank the trustees and the incorporators, and especially those with whom I've communicated about this event, Don Upton and Bill Sloane and Ramona Branch, and Kristen has been inestimable in helping me get set up to do this today. So I thank you all for your support. I'll just say something about the pathological part of my mother being a pathological philanthropist. I don't like using scare quotes, but it's, that phrase is said with tongue in cheek. She was pathological in the sense that she found it very hard to say no when somebody asked for help or support, whatever kind of support it was. And I have joked with friends of mine that, especially since I retired, the ability to say no has become a real problem for me. The inability to say no has become a problem for me too. So I'm in that sense also very pathological. I have a program of colorful 20th century guitar music. Those two concepts are important. First, you'll notice that if you've looked at the program listing, the first group of pieces is not 20th century, it's from the 16th century, but it's a good way to start. The colorful part comes from several ideas in my own head about our lives and music. With the guitar, you can hear a wide range of tonal colors, and I'll use some of that tonight. And there are also the mental colors that you might conjure, that hearing the music might conjure in your mind. And I'd also like to mention about a trait called synesthesia, which some of you may be aware of, and you may be aware of it because you may have, quote, have synesthesia. Synesthesia is the trait where you mix two or more different senses. So for example, when you're thinking about numbers or letters, you may see them all in color. And as I do, I see the entire number series in color, varying colors. Days of the week, letters of the alphabet, the keys of Western music, all of those are different colors to me. And that's what is so interesting about music in general. So it's either the colors that I feel when I do this, the colors that you might hear when I play for you. The idea came actually from the next to last group on the program, the two movements of the work Elogio de la Danza by Leo Brouwer, which is full of intense color, and that is that's really its main attribute, is the variety of colors that we hear when we get to that work. That's how I came to the colorful part of this program. So before I start with the pieces by Dave McLellan, I would like to encourage you to turn the noises off on your mobile devices, but feel free to take pictures. I'd love to have pictures from the audience, not just of me, but of you all, of each of you, just to sort of get a sense of the social atmosphere. So please feel free to take pictures, but turn your flash off. So let's begin with the Three Pavans by Dave McLellan. McLellan was a rock star of the Spanish instrument called the vihuela, very much like the guitar, 6 courses, tuned slightly differently, but very, very much a predecessor of the guitar. So we end up playing a lot of vihuela music on the guitar. The word pavan is related to the Italian word for peacock, and the pavan itself was a very stately, majestic kind of dance, almost like you might imagine a peacock strutting around. These three pieces are not actually dances that would have been danced to, although the third one is very dance-like. They're more fantasies on the idea of the pavan. And I'll just let you know that, let's see, the first one in A minor, to me, A minor is kind of a mixed green. The second one, the key of B minor is, I can't describe what that color is. But C major is a very transparent, bright blue to me. So we'll see if you hear something else in those colors, in these pieces. And so for a now, a totally different color of the instrument, having taken the capo off, and we open the instrument to its full range. These two pieces coming up by Joaquin Rodrigo are, well, one of them is very, very well known in Los Regales. I'll come to that in a second. What's really important about Rodrigo is, you may have, well, he's very famous for his Concierto de Aranjuez, probably the guitar concerto that's most heard. But he wrote a ton of solo guitar music, some for the great Segovia, but many pieces for other guitarists. Both of these were not written for Segovia. But what is really remarkable about Rodrigo in the context of color is that he was blind from the age of 3. And especially in Los Regales, where it's a programmatic work, full of color. I imagine that you'll sense it when you hear it, but it's remarkable that he was able to invoke color without having seen color since he was 3 years old. He relied on his wife a lot to describe things to him so he could have a mental image. And so that's where all of his color came from. The tiento antiguo, tiento is the Spanish word for the Italian toccata. It's just toccata means a piece to touch, touching the instrument in all kinds of ways. This toccata starts out with some florid arpeggios. There's a little short flamenco song, very emotional in it. Scale passages, the arpeggios come back. So it's very much a free form. Now, en los Regales, it translates in the wheat fields, and it is a story of a day in the life of wheat field workers. It opens with the crow of the rooster, and the echoing of that crow from another rooster. And then the workers get going, a scale passage opens up the work of the workers getting ready to go out to the fields, and so the rest of that section is all about what the colors and the experiences of them in the field. You'll hear something that I think Rodrigo intended to sound like wind blowing through the trees, some quick trills, and also in the second section, the B section, which is open, the church bells call the workers till their lunch break. So there are church bells that you'll hear that image very clearly. They take their break. The church bells call the workers to go back to the fields for the afternoon, and they finish their day. It finishes very quietly. I don't know how long we'll have to wait for the bells. So I'm just gonna play. blind man. So we now turn to Brazil with the music of Hector Villa-Lobos, who was a great guitarist himself, also played the cello. He contributed quite a lot to the repertoire of the guitar. And the three pieces I'll play today are from a collection of 12 that he wrote very early in his life, in the late 1920s, 1929, I think they were actually published. This came during a period where Villa-Lobos was struggling with his heritage as learning music as a street musician and his desire to elevate the music of Brazil. He was struggling with the dichotomy of that and his training that he got from the French Impressionists. Darius Milhaud is one name that comes to mind. So he was struggling with his musical identity, and the 12 etudes gave him an opportunity to write a serious work that was classically acceptable, but still had the elements of his Brazilian folk upbringing and street upbringing. So he felt that it was a good combination of those two attributes of his life. Etudes are, in case you don't know, an etude is a study. It's a didactic piece to help teach a specific technique. Didactic etudes often also work as concert etudes. The great output of Chopin is a testament to the miracles of concert etudes. So these 12 etudes, of which I'll play 3, are great didactic etudes and concert etudes. So number 5, I play them in the order that makes sense musically. Number 5 uses a running accompaniment pattern in the middle of the voice of the guitar. So this pattern goes throughout the entire piece with the exception of one measure. It is changed in some ways. It's not always these notes. But you'll hear that pattern, that the thirds alternating down and then back up again all the way through. And the important melodic stuff happens above it on the top and below it in the bass. But that middle sort of running brook is all the way through with the exception of one measure. The piece is in the key of C, but you don't that doesn't really become obvious until the very last 8 measures. This is in the key of C, but it still has a feel of A minor. C to me is blue, bright blue. So you don't really understand that it's in C major until the very last chord, actually. But it does travel through related keys, A minor and G major, and some modified E minor with some ugly notes. Number 6 is just a great big old chord study. We struggle to play chords cleanly and on time, and lots of tricky left-hand shifting, so this is a good etude for teaching good, crisp, clear articulation of chords. It's very much a machine-like sounding. I mean, it might conjure images of machinery. Very machine-like to me. And number 3 in D major, let's see. Number 6 is in E minor. To me, that's kind of a transparent color. Number 3 in D major, which is pretty gray-black to me, is a slur study. A slur is on the guitar is executed by the right hand striking a string and the left hand either ascending, that's a slur ascending, or we would strike a string with the right hand and pull the finger off as a descending slur. So the D major study is an imaginative nightmare for guitarists, but it is charming, and it's very short, but it's so charming. It's just a delightful little piece.
Are you going to give us a quiz At the end of
Well, it's an open book
the-
test.
Take notes.
It's open book, you can always ask me the answers and I will tell you the answers.
Good.
And now we come to talk about Leo Brouwer, a great contributor to this art of playing the guitar. Brouwer is a national hero in Cuba. He is 84 years old, turned 84 just last month. He actually went to the Heart School where I and another colleague of mine went. So we're very proud about the fact that Leo Brouwer went to our school. This work of his, he has produced many works of varying styles, and this is a very early work. He was only 25 years old when he wrote it. He was commissioned by the Cuban choreographer dancer Luis Trapata to write a piece for his ballet called Conflicts. Brouwer originally wrote this for piano and electronic tape, and then he was asked to rescore it for the solo guitar for the ballet. Also around this time, Brouwer was really quite obsessed with the music of Stravinsky, in particular the Rite of Spring. You won't hear any quotes of that in this, but he was very much influenced by the sound of Stravinsky. So what's also important about Brouwer is that he is very proud to say, I don't care about melody. Melody is nothing to me. It's all about color and gesture. And so what you'll hear in this music is a collection of gestures. Some of them are things that he could really easily do quickly on the guitar. Licks, as we would call them in electric guitar terminology. A lick is something that a guitarist has worked on for a really long time and can do it fast and be impressive. And so Brouwer had developed some of these techniques, but they fit into the musical sense of the piece. So I want to play a couple of sounds that you will hear. They're not always pleasant sounds, but they're always very colorful. And in fact, what I usually say is that if you are familiar with the paintings of Jackson Pollock, where paint is thrown up on a canvas, you might think that this is what Brouwer's all about. The piece holds together. There are, quote, themes that come back, so think of some of these licks that I mentioned as gestures. Some of the dissonant chords are gestures, and then in other cases, an entire section may be a musical gesture. So One of the opening chords is this. This chord keeps coming back again and again. And it's varied later in the first movement. This is a first movement of a chord found in the first movement. It is later modified in introduction. There's this dissonance and this dissonance. And then it's modified. Also, some things that he likes to use that move across the fingerboard. Not something you're used to listening to. There must be birds, something coming down here in the chimney. I'm not sure what it is. Snow. This lick. I can just imagine Brower sitting down when he's 22 years old and thinking, "Oh, this is cool." And then, and then in the second movement, I'll play these straight through because the end of the first movement, the lento, leads directly into the quote violence of the second movement. It's not violent at all, but it's very bluesy. The second movement opens with this combination. This is a very bluesy sound, mixing the major third of an E major chord with a sharp 9. This is a chord that you will have heard in rock music all the time, but its voicing is quite interesting. This is how the second movement opens. And then in the middle section of the second movement, there is, well, actually that first section, to me, this makes me think of a parent who is asking his teenage son to clean his room, and the son is very obstinate about not cleaning his room. So this would be, please clean your room. And this is the son saying, "No way." So if that helps you travel through this piece of music, you can think of it that way, but close your eyes, let these sounds wash over you, and let the colors take over. I hate to use the phrase, "I hope you enjoy this," because that sounds apologetic to me, but I do need to say that I enjoy playing this piece so much, and I hope you enjoy hearing it, because it's my job to make sure that you do enjoy it, even if it might not sound pretty. I would love to talk afterwards about what kind of images that music in particular conjures in your mind. So now something very, very tuneful that will clean your palate. Two beautiful, one beautiful tune, The Water's Wide, and one kind of toe tapper. I'm going to let this sixth string learn its new pitch for a minute. Anybody into the Jefferson Airplane in the 1960s? Surrealistic Pillow, 1967. This solo written by the lead guitarist Jorma Kakkonen. Embryonic Journey, Nobody knows what the title really meant. Doesn't matter. It's in the key of D, which for me is this grayish black key. And it sports this very guitaristic thing of alternating the thumb, in this case, on the 6th and the 4th string. This keeps going throughout. Sometimes the thumb goes to the 5th string, alternating 5th to 6th, but that's the running bass. There's all kinds of stuff that happens over it. The Water is Wide is a wonderful poem, Scottish folk song, set by the American guitarist Fred Hand. That's how it qualifies as a 20th century guitar piece, because Fred Hand is still with us and he arranged it in the 20th century. The piece starts in the key of C and ends up in the key of D. Thank you all for being here to support the Cathedral of the Pines, a place that's of special meaning to me. Thank you.
Thank you to David. David has wanted to do this for a long time, and with COVID and the pandemic, we finally got to do it.
Yep.
We're so
Yep.
glad. So, for
Thank you,
some of
Jim.
you younger people looking for a restaurant,
I'm not sure the audio quality is recording.
and there's plenty of
My mics
wine,
didn't work, so I had to switch it to the mic.
burgers.
We'll see.
Please stay and visit.
Definitely record
This place is all about stories, so we hope you'll start telling some stories to your friends.